Welcome to the Daily Radio Bible for Kids. The day is February the 5th. My name is Hunter, and we are reading through the Bible. This Bible takes kids from all around the world, from Dallas to Timbuktu, through the Bible in a year, from Genesis all the way to the book of Revelation. Today's reading comes from the book of Exodus, chapter 7, verses 19, on into chapter 8, verse 4, and then it goes to verses 8 through 19. And then we end our reading in Hebrews chapter 12, verse 10. This is from the New Living Translation. You know, Pharaoh didn't get it. He wouldn't let the Israelites go. What would God do to make him change his mind? Let's read and find out. Exodus chapter 7. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Tell Aaron, take your staff and raise your hand over the waters of Egypt, all its rivers, canals, ponds, and all the reservoirs. Turn all the water into blood. Everywhere in Egypt the water will turn to blood, even the water stored in wooden bowls and stone pots." So Moses and Aaron did just as the Lord commanded them. As Pharaoh and all his officials watched, Aaron raised his staff and struck the water of the Nile. Suddenly the whole river turned to blood. The fish in the river died, and the water became so foul that the Egyptians couldn't drink it. There was blood everywhere throughout the land of Egypt. But again, the magicians of Egypt used their magic, and they too turned the water into blood. So Pharaoh's heart remained hard. He refused to listen to Moses and Aaron, just as the Lord had predicted. Pharaoh returned to his palace and put the whole thing out of his mind. Then all the Egyptians dug along the riverbank to find drinking water, for they couldn't drink the water from the Nile. 7 days passed from the time the Lord struck the Nile. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Go back to Pharaoh and announce to him, 'This is what the Lord says, let my people go so they can worship me. If you refuse to let them go, I will send a plague of frogs across your entire land. The Nile will swarm with frogs. They will come up out of the river and into your palace, even into your bedroom and onto your bed. They will enter the houses of your officials and your people. They will even jump into your ovens and your kneading bowls. Frogs will jump on you and your people and all your officials." Then Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and begged, "Plead with the Lord to take the frogs away from me and from my people. I will let you go so you can offer sacrifices to the Lord." "You set the time," Moses replied. "Tell me when you want me to pray for you, your officials and your people. Then you and your house will be rid of the frogs. They will remain only in the Nile River." "Do it tomorrow," Pharaoh said. "All right," Moses replied. "It will be as you have said. Then you will know that there is no one like the Lord our God. The frogs will leave you and your houses, your officials and your people. They will remain only in the Nile River." So Moses and Aaron left Pharaoh's palace, and Moses cried out to the Lord about the frogs he had inflicted on Pharaoh. And the Lord did just as Moses had predicted. The frogs in the houses, the courtyards, the fields, all died. The Egyptians piled them into great heaps, and a terrible stench filled the land. But when Pharaoh saw that relief had come, he became stubborn. He refused to listen to Moses and Aaron, just as the Lord had predicted. So the Lord said to Moses, "Tell Aaron, raise your staff and strike the ground. The dust will turn into swarms of gnats throughout the land of Egypt." So Moses and Aaron did just as the Lord had commanded them. Then Aaron raised his hand and struck the ground with his staff. Gnats infested the entire land, covering the Egyptians and their animals. All the dust in the land of Egypt turned into gnats. Pharaoh's magicians tried to do the same thing with their secret arts, but this time they failed, and the gnats covered everyone, people and animals alike. "This is the finger of God," the magicians exclaimed to Pharaoh. But Pharaoh's heart remained hard. He wouldn't listen to them, just as the Lord had predicted. Wow. Pharaoh's heart is very hard. Since Pharaoh was not cooperating with God's plan, God sent frogs and gnats to bother him. Sometimes God uses the little annoying things in our life to remind us that He is in charge. What does it take for God to get your attention? Remember that God is in charge of everything. This is what God says in Hebrews chapter 12, verse 10. Our earthly fathers discipline us for a few years. doing the best they know how, but God's discipline is always good for us so that we might share in His holiness. How about that? Well, my friends, we've done it again. We've spent another day in the Bible. I plan on being back here again tomorrow to do the same thing. Until that time, you go forward in God's joy. You let His joy be your strength, and you know this, that you are loved. How about that? All right, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.